Donald Trump has a little bit of a Pecker problem. David Pecker, to be clear. So now, David happens to be the head of the company that publishes the National Enquirer, or former head, I should say. That's America Media Incorporated. And so now this company has been a steadfast ally of Donald Trump for quite some time, doing a lot of promotion on his behalf, as well as bearing stories that would make Donald Trump look fairly bad. And that's one of the reasons that Mr. Pecker seems to be in some trouble. So now we have some confirmation, and this is a new story that he has spoken with prosecutors with the New York District Attorney Office. So now this is part of the investigation into the Trump organization's handling of certain payments to certain individuals that happened before the election. Now, of course, that involves Stephanie Clifford's, or Stormy Daniels, as she's more better off known, or better known as. And then Karen McDougal, who was a former Playboy model, both who had alleged affairs with Donald Trump. And so, look, um, we know that Michael Cohen had made some payments to Stephanie Clifford's in order to basically guarantee her silence before the 2016 election. And so these are hush money payments, and actually they were considered to be campaign contributions since they were to help Donald Trump, even though it came out of Michael Cohen's pocket. And then, of course, there was a reimbursement later on. And so, again, it is deeply involved, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. But basically, what it comes down to, the question is how much is Donald Trump involved, and is what he did in the Trump organization, what they did together in order to silence these stories, are they illegal? And so this is what the prosecutors in New York are actually looking at, if they had broken any New York laws. And so now, interesting note about Michael Cohen, of course, was Donald Trump's personal lawyer for quite some time, and now is serving a prison sentence related to those hush money payments, campaign finance violations. So he's literally sitting in prison right now. While his co-conspirator is running the most powerful country on earth. Okay, so now CNN reports that the meeting between Pecker and local prosecutors showed that investigators are still trying to connect the dots between Trump and hush money payments, and could result in Mr. Pecker being a potential critical witness down the road in any legal action against Trump or the Trump organization. There's also been recent reports that Trump organization member Alan Weisselberg, he's the CFO, is also being questioned and investigated. So that is very interesting as well. And so now, one document is noted as being of particular interest to people in New York, and that would be Donald Trump's personal and business tax returns. So now the tax returns are also of interest to federal prosecutors. And so here we have a lot of interest in these tax returns, which is one reason Donald Trump does not want those tax returns to be released. I think the other reason, of course, other than showing that he has been doing some shady things, possibly illegal things, is that it might also show that he's not as rich as he claims. And so, even in the absence of illegal things, Donald Trump has hinged his entire persona, public persona, as well as part of his campaign strategy, on saying, "Look at how rich I am. I'm the richest. I'm the most successful businessman." Well, if those tax returns show that he's not rich, well, then it undercuts his entire argument. But if it includes criminal things, well, then that can cause problems not only in New York, but if congressional Democrats also get a hold of those tax returns, and if they're as bad as I think that they are, when it comes to possible, inflating assets and deflating it. For example, a problem with him inflating his assets would be him trying to get loans. So that would be, of course, fraud. and then deflating his assets when taxes come around in order to reduce his tax liabilities. And that, of course, would be relevant when it comes to New York as well. And so, look, he could be in a lot of trouble. And here you have David Pecker, who, by the way, has been granted total and complete immunity in exchange for testimony. Now, they do not do that unless what you are alleged to have in your testimony is good. And I mean damning for the people that they're looking into. And this would, of course, be the Trump organization and possibly Trump himself. We don't know exactly what David Pecker knows. But again, this suggests to me giving him immunity, it means that whatever information he has is possibly damning. And so here we go. Very, very interesting. The question is whether or not what Pecker knows, which, by the way, I can't resist this joke, so I apologize in advance. But he seems to be releasing information in spurts. I told you I'm bad. Whether or not that information, as it gets released, ties Donald Trump himself to any criminal activity. And so we will have to see what happens. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.